Hello! Hi there, you.
Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks.
I'm Mama Andy, and today we're going to be having a look at Bear McCreary's score for Rings of Power.
Mama Andy's got a song for you.
On New Year's Day in 2020, I was back in New Zealand for the summer, and we'd rented a house in Akaroa, a beautiful wee port town just outside of Christchurch in New Zealand. We'd been up late, as you do on New Year's Eve, partying a little bit, and we were all feeling pretty worse for the wear on the New Year's Day. So we set up a projector in the living room. We were going to play all three Lord of the Rings films, extended editions, back to back. Thematically, the films are really simple. You've got good, you've got evil. Evil tries to corrupt good, good tries to resist the corruption of evil. We all know where it goes, we all know that good triumphs in the end. It's a nice series to watch hungover because we all know where it's going. It doesn't leave you wondering too much. And there's a comfort and a familiarity that comes with that. Howard Shore, the composer for Lord of the Rings, does a really good job of helping these themes along with the way he's written it. But today we're not looking at Howard Shore, we're not looking at Lord of the Rings, no, we are looking at Rings of Power. The score for Rings of Power was composed by this guy, Bear McCreary, who, on top of being a very prolific Hollywood and video game composer, has the best name I've ever heard of. Bear speaks quite a lot about how he didn't want to copy Shore's music, but how he wanted it to exist in the same pantheon, and how, just like a prequel should, he wanted to leave room for the imagination to see how his themes could develop into the themes that Shore uses in Lord of the Rings. First up is Khazad-dûm. Forgive me, all the dwarves out there, if I butchered that pronunciation. Khazad-dûm is the theme associated with the dwarves and with the dwarven city by the same name. Okay, cool. So first of all, we've got this sort of spiccato thing happening on the low strings, dum bum 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 bum, which gives us this stately marching feel. It's almost perfunctory. It's not ostentatious. It's not too extra. It's a really basic ostinato, which gives us rigidity, a little bit of propriety, and it gives us tradition. And of course, we have the anvil hits. Now, for those of you who don't know, a hammer and anvil is sometimes used as an orchestral instrument. It was used in Wagner's Ring Cycle, like this. It seems like low-hanging fruit and a really easy thing to be putting into our dwarven theme, so we get the idea of mining, blacksmiths. It really does the trick. We also have the male choir. Now, this is the first of a few subtle little callbacks to Shore's score. Anyone who's seen my Lightyear video will know that I'm a big fan of a little bit of nostalgia in my reboots, and I think this is a good touch. We have low male voices in the choir being used to represent dwarves, much like we do in Lord of the Rings. Oh, beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So we've got this contrasting B section which gives us a really different feel. We can hear the strings come in, the harmony changes, and we move from a minor pentatonic, simple, trudging, perfunctory thing into something that's a bit more beautiful. And I love this from Bear because the dwarves of Middle-earth have this really interesting duality to them. They are tough, they are hardy, they are stubborn, they're miners, and they carve out of the bare rock. But at the same time, they are lovers of beauty and treasure, and they have a really wholesome family life. So the D melodic minor that gets used in the A section is immovable. It gives me this feeling of strong, traditional, quite hard to pick holes in feeling. Whereas the B section has this beautiful contrast where the chords are moving up by whole steps, the melody is soaring, the strings come in, the choir's reaching, and suddenly we feel like it can develop. We're not stuck in this stubborn place where it has some beauty to it. It has a bit more colour in it, which I think matches the dwarves really well. Da, 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 da. It's beautiful at the same time as being really stubborn. And we hear the B section again as it soars. Sounds really beautiful and uplifting. It could almost be elvish, It's that beautiful. Wow, okay. Something that composers would do with Catholic masses is create huge, big sounds to give the feeling of a huge, big church and a huge, big God. So we had these massive buildings that were meant to inspire fear and awe in the peasantry and, keep them docile and keep them praying and paying their tithes. And the music did a similar thing where it would create this massive feeling and make one feel very small when you listen to it. That's how I feel when I listen to this. I feel tiny. This soaring sound seems to envelop you. And I think that's how I might feel if I stepped foot in Khazad-dûm as well. This place is huge. It is miraculous. It's almost holy. You see these stone walkways cut out of the inside of the mountain, and these huge towering archways. The score borrows this trick from Catholic mass music, where we create big sounds to inspire the feeling of big spaces, or perhaps how small Elrond feels when he gets to go visit it, and we see it from his perspective in the show, as he's walking through the halls of Khazad-dûm, and the music is soaring, and he's just going, fuck me, look at this. It's really cool. Huge, right? Huge! Next up, we're having a listen to Sauron. Oh shit. Okay, how the f*** do we count this? One and two and 1, 2, 3, right? So it sounds like it's in a slow 4 with a 7/8 bar every 1 or 2 bars. So immediately we're dealing with a very irregular time signature. Now, the thing about irregular time signatures that I find is when they're consistent, the brain can kind of adjust to them. You think of something like Take 5, for example. A really famous 5/4 song, and it stays in 5/4 the whole time. And it doesn't sound too weird, right? It's a little bit off kilter, but we can kind of adjust to it. Where it really starts to become a little bit f***y is when we switch between a regular time signature and an irregular one. So Sauron's theme might look a little something like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So we're alternating the 4/4 bar with the 7/8 bar. Once we combine that with the swirling string ostinato that's happening, it makes the whole piece very hard to pin down. Not to mention, the piece is built around a basic D minor triad, but it is approached by a semitone either side of the tonic, with the E flat and the D flat, before you get back to the D. So harmonically, it's hard to pin down as well. And it gives this sense of swirling, constant motion, evil that's always moving. Sauron is the epitome of evil. He's the big bad guy here. So we've given him a piece that's in an irregular time signature, so we can't pin it down. Irregular time signatures are often used to symbolize evil. We actually see it in some themes in Lord of the Rings. We get chop bum 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 banana 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, and it doesn't give us the satisfaction. It's hard to keep up with. 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 and 2 and 1 and then back into 4. 1 and It also has a hint of Dies Irae about it. The Dies Irae is another reference that has been quoted all over film scores, and it's usually used to symbolize death and evil. It's not so different from... Except with the half steps, we've made Dies Irae even more evil. We've taken the theme in film scores that represents evil and death, and we've somehow made it more discordant and more evil. So just like he clearly shows the dwarves' love of hard work and mining, coupled with their love of beauty and family, he shows Sauron's unpin-downable evil, the constant roaming malevolence that Sauron perpetrates. He spoke in an interview about this score about wanting to reference some of the amazing melodicists that he's been listening to, people like Ennio Morricone. So the melody he really wanted to put on the forefront. You know, compared to some more modern film writers who favour texture and mood and vibe over melody, I think McCreary does a really nice job of stating the themes really clearly. Here's the theme, this is dwarves, they are X. Here's the theme, this is elves, they are Y. And here's Sauron, who's this. And I think that it really lends itself to the good versus evil theme that we love about Lord of the Rings. There's something comforting about watching a show about good versus evil that we know how it's going to end. And it's a prequel as well, so it's a foregone conclusion. So I think it lets us buy into it a little more and invest in it a little more, because we know we're not going to get hurt. When I think back to that New Year's at the start of 2020, what seems like an eternity ago, it was such a happy memory for me. We had no idea where the world was going to end up that year. You know, it was such a hard year for everyone in so many ways. I'm glad I had that moment of comfort and of simplicity. Sometimes just a little bit of predictability in an unpredictable world is just what we need. And I'm glad we've got it in Rings of Power. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and please feel free to check out some more of my content. I know you're going to love it. We'll see you next time. Bye!